Jajinendra, welcome to Adults Class 2, Practical Applications of Jainism. Let's start with the Namo Mantra. Namo Arihantanam, Namo Sitanam, Namo Ayaryanam, Namo Ujayanam, Namo Lovisavasamanam, Yasoponjanamokaro, Sarvapava Pranasano, Mangalanancha Savesim, Paramam Ave Mangalam. One of the questions that constantly comes up in this class is what counts and what doesn't count? Well, today I thought we could answer those questions once and for all for every scenario, and we'll never have those questions again. So let's start with an easy one. It doesn't count for anything. It doesn't count for nirjara, for samvar, for tap, or anything if you're letting your mind wander while you say your prayers. And that doesn't count because your mental state matters. And the mental state behind your actions are a big part of the karma system. We have another system in place where your mental state matters, and that, of course, is our legal system. That is, your mental state matters. It determines the consequences you face. And so what we call mens rea is a $10 word that just means state of mind. It distinguishes between someone who accidentally does something, who recklessly does something, who intentionally does something, or who negligently does something. Hey, come on in. So let's go through an example crime to see how it works. So let's talk about homicide. So what we call first-degree murder is premeditated or intentional. That means you plan to kill somebody and you went through with it. And so what happens is if you make a deliberate plan to kill somebody in the future and you bought a gun and you planned it out where you would do it and how you would do it, that's the highest level of homicide, first-degree murder. What we call second-degree murder is when you plan to kill somebody, not plan. You intended to kill somebody, but you didn't plan it beforehand. So it was like in the heat of the moment. For example, if you get into a fight with somebody and you plan to kill them and you kill them, that is what we call second-degree murder. The next step down is called voluntary manslaughter. That is a heat of passion. Hey, come on in. That means you intentionally killed somebody, but the actions were such due to strong emotions that you didn't plan it beforehand. And it was, for example, the example is if you walk in on your spouse cheating with somebody and you kill that person. Well, that was a kind of a heat of the moment, and we call that voluntary manslaughter. The next one is involuntary manslaughter. That is, you act with recklessness or criminal negligence. That is, you didn't intend to kill the person, but because of your reckless behavior or grossly negligent behavior, a death occurred. So we might say that when you're driving drunk and you get into an accident and you kill that person, you didn't intend to kill that person, but you were so careless that you're going to be convicted of murder. The type of murder is called involuntary manslaughter. And the last one is called negligence. That is a negligent homicide. You didn't intend to kill that person, but your behavior wasn't reckless. It was just negligent. And an example of that is if you leave a baby in a hot car and the baby dies. Okay, you didn't intend to kill the baby, and you didn't seem to rise to the level of driving drunk, but you were so careless that it's a crime and you committed homicide. Hey, come on in.
Sorry.
No problem. Thanks to everybody just joining us. Today we're talking about what counts and what doesn't count. This is a question we get all the time, so I thought I'd answer all your questions today and you'd have no more questions. So with regards to karma is another system where your intention matters a lot. Sometimes your intentions matter more than your actions. The common story we tell is that there are two people and they're taking a walk. And it's just rained, so there are a lot of worms on the ground. The first person is very careful. the first person starts and stops and looks and steps over things and steps around things, is very careful, tries to avoid killing all the worms. That person kills 10 worms. The second person kills 3 worms, but not very careful. They don't care. They just walk, they keep walking, don't care how many they kill, don't care. Second person only killed 3 worms. However, the second person has a worse situation as far as karma. The karma will bind to their soul more intensely because of their intentions. Even though if you look strictly at the facts, it should be that the first person gets worse karmic justice, right? But that's not how it goes, because we don't look strictly at the actions. We look at the intentions behind the actions. So, all that to say that what we call activity, remember when we say actions, we mean man, vachan, kaya. So actions include thoughts, actions include speech, and actions includes deeds. Don't think that actions is just deeds, okay? So when we say action, we mean man, vachan, and kaya. So your action determines the nature and the quantity of karma that attach to your soul. That is, what kind of karma and how much karma. While your passions or your intentions, the passion with which you do the action, determines the intensity and the duration of how the karma attaches to your soul. Okay, so that's pretty important. So let's repeat it. We have the actions and the intentions. The actions determine the nature and the quantity of karma. The intentions determine the intensity and duration of the bondage. Okay, so that was a lot to talk about. Comments or questions?
So what is today's topic about?
Today's topic is what counts and what doesn't count. It doesn't count if you say your prayers and you let your mind wander and you're thinking about... I can say things and think about something totally else, especially if it's something like the Navkar Mantra that I've said 1,000,000 times maybe in my life. I can say that and have a totally parallel train of thought, right? That doesn't count. It doesn't count. Some people think it counts, but they're wrong. It doesn't count. Okay? It doesn't even count for a little bit. And so we have a lot of questions about what counts and what doesn't count, and I'd like to answer them all today. And so to understand that, we needed that background of Band, how Band works. Because Band is the backbone of what counts and what doesn't count. That is, how much, how long, how intense, and what kind of karma attached to your soul.
So you're saying when I'm saying Navkar Mantra or I'm doing Pratikam or something, if I'm not paying attention and if I don't have that, going with that, so it doesn't count and it just considers as like I'm doing just an activity?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. It doesn't count, and I'm sorry that you wasted your time doing that.
But
You'll find out we wasted a lot of time doing that.
But doesn't the intention matter then?
So I wasted my whole life.
Yes, absolutely.
You have an intention of doing it, you're just not focused.
Right, and so your intention, so here's where we're getting confused with words a little bit, and that's partly my fault. When we say intention, I really mean mental state. Yeah, you had an intention to do pratikama, but then your mental state during it, that counts more than your intention to sit down and do it. So whenever I say intention, I mean your mental state.
Yeah. But our mental state is always like that, right? What we are doing, we are thinking like we are doing it, activity is happening now, what next is coming, so...
Well, you found the problem. You hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah, that's
we're
what it is.
always
Like,
distracted.
Because I drop my kids and okay, now what is the next activity? So I don't even know. I'm like driving it, but yeah, so it's...
Exactly. That is the problem.
I want to bring this up a little bit in the professional setting, right?
Yes.
So we come across this very often because sometimes our intention and actions collide directly with somebody else's intentions and actions, right? And I'll give you an example. Right, like I have seen a team of senior managers, senior consultants, and so on, right? A lot of time what happens is the senior managers are trying to protect people underneath them, right? So they would not bring out some of the issues to the surface for somebody, right, higher up. So they have good intentions, right, over there. But at the same time, for example, my intention will be 100% aligned to doing the right thing for the client. Sometimes
Right.
it could be figuring out where things are not working well, take those people out and put other people in,
Right.
right? So my intention is towards 100% towards client alignment, doing the right thing for the client and making sure the project runs smoothly. On the other hand, there are the senior managers of protecting certain people who are not 100% efficient, or their skill sets are not aligning with the projects and things of that nature, right?
Right.
So how do we, my question is, giving you the scenario to get to the question, how much weightage you give to an intention versus an action, right? Because
So-
in some way, sometimes I feel like, okay, what the senior managers are doing is right. They're protecting their people, they're giving them the psychological safety, but on the other hand, if they give them too much psychological safety, that can backfire.
Right.
So that's where my question is that what is the right balance of intention versus action over there? Intention meaning protecting the people,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes they don't deserve to be protected, right? And
The
action
right-
is actually taking the action to take those people out.
The right balance is always to mental state. What you're calling intention, because it's like the two people walking down the street. Even though one kills more worms, karmically they receive less karma with less intensity because of their mental state.
So I'm curious to know if you guys come across. I'm pretty sure everybody in this room comes across those scenarios, right? How do you make your decisions? I like this framework that Timur is putting forward, right? It talks about intensity, but again, like, would love to hear some thoughts here, if you're open to.
Absolutely. I want you to give me all of your scenarios. We're going to talk about what counts and what doesn't count.
I'll talk about myself. Different example, but somewhere related. So, I don't like to walk on the grass, right? Chris loves to play. My kid loves to play soccer, right? So me and Sheetal is like opposite. We are in America. We have grass. We cut grass. Things happen, right? So I took him out of soccer. Now he's playing tennis. So I'm like thinking of YUG and all that stuff.
Right.
Going for a morning walk, right? I love walking, but now I'm like almost couple of years back. I'm looking down. I'm trying to protect, not trying to kill them, but I also want to exercise.
Right.
Go on a jog or walk or whatever. So I always keep this thought active and try to avoid it, but I'm pretty sure I'm killing.
Right.
Start going to gym. Just kidding.
I tried it, but again, like playing outside, right, with the kids, right? I keep on shouting, "Don't go on the grass! Don't go on the grass!" It gets on my kids' nerves.
Right.
So how do I balance that? Like, then what happens is I try to avoid playing with them outside, so I'm playing inside. And now we started playing Nerf War,
And
then
break TV.
and I broke a couple of TVs. So I listened to online Gurudev and stuff, and
Right.
like playing Nerf War is like playing with guns. I'm like, oh my god.
Everything,
Right.
everything is wrong to some level, so you have to make your decision.
What's happening is you're waking up and you're realizing there's violence all around you
Exactly.
in every moment. And you're like, I'm supposed to be trying to minimize this. I'm
Absolutely.
worried about my soul. I'm worried about the souls of my family. And then this is a common kind of scenario where it seems like the only thing I can do is just be in my house and be a hermit and meditate, and I'm not allowed to do anything.
That's right.
The thing is, you will start to. This is the first step, and it's the hardest step. And you're starting to realize why it's the hardest step. But as you be mindful of everything that you're doing, now you're mindful of all the possibilities. And as you say, well, my family's outside. What can I do? I don't want them to be inside because we have this outside time. So I'm going to try to minimize what we do outside. We'll have time for inside time because the sun's going to set. At that time we'll do inside, we'll do our inside work. And so you have to go through this. And you're realizing what a pain it is. You have to go through this with every moment of every part of your life. And that's what we call living an examined life. Congratulations. You're on the road.
Right, and then what I have practiced is when we come out, I try to tell them Vosirami, with asking for forgiveness, right?
That's really nice.
So, but again, does it even count? Like, I just committed this bunch of cruel activity
Right.
and saying, Vasirami or saying Ichami Padikami Pak.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Like-
what you are saying, yeah, one question is like, I have an intention not to cut the grass, but then I get a HOA notice immediately. So I have to do that action to cut the grass. So I know that even if I tell my lawnmower saying that you do it, I'm telling him to kill the grass.
Correct.
So anyway, I'm going to get a garma. So I mean, in this situation, yeah,
And
it's tough actually. Don't know what to
To
do.
the best of hypocrisy, I try to tell my grass cutter, "Itina divse nahi kato."
Okay, so quite a lot of things to unpack, and I'm glad that you brought this example up. So when you ask the question, does it count or does it not count? It counts, certainly. Now you're starting to see that one of the most interesting questions. Now you're starting to become a philosopher, because philosophers know that one of the most interesting questions is what is right and what is not right. You could fill up your whole life thinking about that one question in each moment of your life. I'm outside. What is the right thing to do here? I'm inside. What is the right thing to do here? I'm with my family. What's the right thing to do here? I'm alone. What's the right thing to do here? So now you're a philosopher. Because that is one of the most interesting questions that I personally think you could ever have, is what is right and what is not right. So it counts. You're on the way. Congratulations. You're waking up and you're starting to realize how hard the path is. I've been trying to tell you, but sometimes I can't tell you enough. You have to experience
Right.
how hard it is
Super.
and how beset by violence you are on all sides, no matter how seemingly innocuous. Also, we brought up a good point. This officer-soldier problem. I directed the man to cut my lawn. Is that worse than cutting the lawn myself? You're an officer, you direct the soldier to kill a person. Is that worse than killing the person yourself? If you're a soldier, I was just following orders, right? He told me to kill this person, I killed it. Same thing. You tell the person to cut your grass. Does it count? It certainly counts. Okay? It certainly counts, and if you're at that stage, then you should do something about that in your life. Assuming that you've taken care of all the low-hanging fruit first, which you might or might not have done. It certainly counts, and it certainly counts for the soldier too. There's no excuse of I was just following orders, right? You always have to, you always get the consequences of your own actions, no matter if somebody tells you to do it or compels you to do it or not. So that's a very good question. That will, if you try to understand that, how that affects your life, you will start to wake up.
And that everything, right? Like I give you last week example. My wife said, I'm seeing some insects, and I'm like, okay, delaying it to kill them. But I had to then call the guy.
Right.
And after 3 days, I'm seeing some insects. I'm like, oh, I mean, don't have a choice. If I don't kill them, then they are going to have babies, and then more.
Right.
And so I had to take that action. But now I have to, live
But
with
at
it.
least we're recognizing it now.
Yeah.
And at least that is the first step to be able to do something about it. Most people don't even see the water in which they swim, much less to ask themselves, should I swim left or should I swim right? Or much less to ask themselves, how did this water get here? Or much less ask themselves, what is right and what is wrong?
So I tell you, when I was in India, Masajiji told me that you see any insects dying and they are still alive and dying, just tell them 3 Naukar mantra. Doesn't matter. So whenever we see anything or I see anything, I do that, and my kids do the same thing. Like, okay, let's do the 3 Naukar mantra. Whatever, it's so Masajiji said maybe their next life or something they hear it and do it. So it's kind of like a kindness that you are seeing someone dying and you can't do anything, at least do something like that. So don't know how
I'm
that
sorry
is.
to say that doesn't count for the insect. It counts for you. Because the insect will bear, that soul, which is just like your soul, will bear the consequences of its own actions. So we've talked about this before, I can't pray for another person and have that count for that person. It counts for me. It counts for, I recognize this. Oh, I'm stopping. I'm taking time out of my life to do this, so I will recognize it in the future.
Yeah.
We can't say, whenever we say, I'll pray for you, that doesn't count for that person. It counts for you. What we determined that we should say was,
Do it together.
we'll pray together. That counts for both people. So if somebody's going through a hardship in their life, if you say, I'll pray for you, that may sound nice, but that doesn't count for them. But if you say, let's pray together, that's a great way to do it.
But I think in just Jainism itself, right, there are so many things like that. They recognize these are the issues going to happen with normal life, right? So they have like, you do certain things like greenery, you can skip on the titi day. So there are like some kind of milestones that they give you, right? Like boiling water. Once you boil it, then the germs won't be like, they won't born again for like whatever that the kali is, right? So they recognize, yes, boiling in first place is going to kill all the germs, but at least you are trying to be taking a preventive measures, basically.
Right. So just like we have those examples of the different levels of mental state in, for example, a homicide, we have different levels of mental state in Jainism, and we call those leshyas, right? There are 6 types of leshyas, and we associate them with colors. The worst kind is Krishna, or black. This person harms other people without remorse or empathy. Second, Nila, or blue. This person begrudges someone else's happiness. They're upset because somebody else is happy. Kapot, or gray, is someone who is not a violent person, but is indifferent to the suffering of others. Okay? There's Tejo, which is red, and then this person is actually a kind and generous person, but they seek recognition and praise for their kindness and generosity. Next is Padma, or yellow. This person helps others and doesn't expect anything in return, and they practice nonviolence. Hi.
Hi.
Come on in.
I'm in another class.
Oh, okay. Adults class 2?
Yeah.
Come on in. We're happy to have you. And then the last one is Shukla, or white. This person has complete self-control, practices compassion, and is enlightened. How are you doing?
Good.
We're talking about Bud today, and what counts and what doesn't count. Have you ever had a question about if something counted, like if your mind was wandering when you were praying? Does that count or not count towards your spiritual progress? It's hard to know, right? But we've determined that it doesn't count because of our intentions behind that. And so, of course, our intentions come in 6 types. Excuse me. However, there's a problem here. Because remember we said in the legal system, well, there's maybe 5 types of mental states, and you have the 5 different crimes, like 1st degree, 2nd degree, like that. Here's the problem. In Jainism, we have 6 types of mental states, what we just went through, but we only have 4 types of bandh. That is the intensity with which they bind to your soul. We just have 4. We have sprushta, or sthiti, which is loose, like a loose knot that can be easily untied. We have baddha, or gadda, which is tight, a tight knot that can be loosened with some efforts. We have nidat, which is an even tighter knot that can be loosened only by very strong efforts, like tap. And we have nikachit, which is so tightly attached that you cannot burn them. You have to suffer the consequences of them. But this is a problem, and I need your help to understand. Why do we have 6 mental states, but we have 4 types of bondage? I don't know. If we have 6, we should have 6, right?
Well, you're talking about intensity of how tight it is to your soul. So
right.
It doesn't matter which state you're in. Well, the state
it certainly matters. That is
so that state will define basically how tight. These are varying degrees of tightness, right?
Right.
So it can be in between. It doesn't have to be.
Oh, so it's like an analog scale.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So these are like artificial boundaries. There's not 6 digital ones. There's between 0 and 6 analog ones.
Right.
And that maps to between 0 and 4 analog bandh, intensity of bandh.
And lesha would be a state of mind, right? That doesn't.
That's right.
I mean, that leads to your bondage of karma, but then it depends on the action, right, that you do at that time that would determine it.
Right, so we determine that the action determines the nature and the quantity. And your lesha, your state of mind, determines the intensity and duration. So nature and quantity is a certain type of karma. That's the nature. And the quantity is a certain amount of that type of karma. And the passions or state of mind determines how long and how tight. Right? So we have
But-
6
but-
leshas but 4 types of bandha.
But probably the lesha or the state of mind that varies from time to time, right?
Yes.
So not any person is just at one particular state of mind. It can vary
That's right.
throughout the day, and that is why maybe to the previous comment, you don't have one-to-one correlation because you can have various states of minds,
Right.
and cumulatively it matters where how your intensity of bandh is.
Okay. So 2 very good reasons that there might be a discrepancy between 6 and 4. So questions or comments about that? Okay, so let's talk about scenarios. We already talked about, does it count if you perform a prayer or ritual with a distracted mind? No, it doesn't count. I'm sorry that you wasted your
So
time.
one question.
Yeah.
Say my lawnmower comes, he cut the grass. So and then I say, oh wow, the lawn looks really nice. Did you see he did such a good awesome job? Do I make more karma by saying that?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because
By saying you did an awesome job?
no, not only awesome job, but it looking
looks
very
great.
nice. Look at the finishing he has given. This, that, like all those things.
Because you're admiring his killing.
Yeah.
That's what
No, because I tell you, because my mom always like say we go to any restaurants or we do anything. I mean, or we go any place. She will not say that, oh, bo masta, bo maja aavi, bo saal de." She always said when you are just doing because you have to do it, you are doing it. But a moment you say start enjoying it or start saying good thing about it, then you start accumulating more karma and bandha badhare thai jayenge.
I have
So,
heard that also.
so now you have to do it. I have to do it. I have to go with my family. But then I start, oh wow, look at that. Even though something is happening which is not right and this and that, like a scenario of lawnmower.
So you're suggesting
So-
you do something but don't enjoy it.
Yeah, no, you're not supposed to judge. It happened, that's fine. You're not supposed to say it's good or bad. You don't judge. It is what it is.
And I have seen a lot of munis also. A moment like I say that, oh, this is a cold coffee. A moment I add the adjectives. Oh, this is a very nice cold coffee. They say, okay, you added the adjectives. You increase the value of what material thing is. So I don't want to do it. I mean, I have experienced this with the munis.
Right.
So
It seems unfair, right? But remember, actions is thoughts, speech, and deeds, right? So we're talking about speech. Do you attract karma for speech? Absolutely, you do. Is it affected by your mental state? Was your speech affected by your passions? Absolutely, it was. So you did attract karma for saying that, however small it might be. I mean, the answer is yes. Compared to other things you do in your life, it's probably pretty minuscule. And I understand the tone at which you're saying. It seems unfair, doesn't it? But you are attracting karma just by thinking.
just by thinking and saying.
Because you have thinking, which is the action, what we're calling action or yog. See, that's the important part. It's yog, which is thoughts, speech, and action, right? So you're thinking, you have a mental state while you're thinking. Are you attracting karma? Absolutely. Are you causing harm to your soul? Absolutely. Is it unfair? Of course it's unfair.
Because it's the way we express it, right? The passion behind expressing. Because my mom does exactly the same thing what your mom said. Like, don't say that.
Don't say
Like what
that, exactly.
I do. Like we went to
Right.
Taj Mahal last. Like, oh,
Right.
wow. No, don't say it.
Don't say exactly. Yeah.
Right. And so they're trying to impress upon you a lesson that they learned. That is, when you speak with emotion at all, well, you could be causing violence. And maybe we don't understand that. We understand, oh, if we insult somebody, that's causing violence, and I know I shouldn't do that. But remember, we're on the path where maybe you're on the path where you don't want bad karma and you don't want good karma. Because it's all binding to your soul, right? Deeply unfair, isn't it?
But this could be tied to more like our goal towards non-attachment. The more you get closer to those things,
Absolutely.
you're gonna next time. Oh, I remember that cold coffee. Let me get that. Right. So it could be tied to that part as well.
Sure. Absolutely.
But sometimes I think if I'm not attached to things, I would not be passionate about it. So that is also happening sometimes when I think, oh, you know what, that's okay. Now I have this, I have that. I'm good now. Do I really need to go on more? Like, so those kind of things, the moment you try non-attachment, you are like, I don't know, about passionate about things and all those things, or I don't know, it happens to anyone. But non-attachment also causes that, right? I mean, you're not that motivated about doing things. And all
But that's a good thing.
That's a
You said amazing things, and then you made it sound like a bad thing. Non-attachment causes me not to have passions. Yeah, that's the whole point.
So I'm just like, okay, no. If you see from the society point of it, if you see the society point of it, you would be like alone, and then there.
Listen, don't worry about society. Society is going to take care of itself. You worry about your soul. And when you downsize, please get a place without a lawn.
Okay.
Get a condo apartment.
Cactus and dirt.
What we have done a little bit on that part is you extend your patio or something with the bricks or some additional.
That's what we did.
Get artificial turf.
Maybe that purple golf you can do that too. But yeah, you can add additional flower beds and all that you don't do that often. Yeah, you can't get away.
No, but then again, are you like it could go either way, right? You doing karma by
That's
One
like
time.
boiling water.
Yeah,
You
but
just
it
use
is
One time.
One-time karma versus every week karma.
I know.
So does it count if you perform a good deed but you have selfish motives behind it? If you give money to the temple because you want to be on their leaderboard, does that count?
partially maybe because I don't know. Like,
Doesn't
counts
count as
partially
much.
but not completely.
I think your intention is bad. So
I don't think it's bad, but it's
I mean,
to
you get
promote,
both, right? You
It's-
did the good deed, so you
Yeah,
did the good
I
part,
did
and then you
partially
did it
not.
for a bad reason, so you get the bad. You get
You become
both
neutral.
at the same time. Well, I don't think I don't know about that.
I don't think
I don't think anything is wrong with putting the name if that is intention is to motivate others to do it.
I
Right.
Of course.
Then
But if it's
then
about self-ego, then we have a problem.
if that's the case, yes.
Yeah.
You put somebody else's name.
That's true.
It doesn't count. I'm sorry. You guys are. This is number 2. It's anger and then ego. It's literally number 2 after anger is ego. All right. It doesn't count. I'm so sorry. All right.
But what if you are trying to motivate others?
But I
Your
see,
intention is
but I see temples all the
You're not
time.
doing-
They're writing
let them do it,
people's
but you're not doing
names.
them a favor.
Like,
So
you
I do
will see
it, I put the
plans.
name, I
You
can
will
see
see
it,
plans.
they're like,
Like,
oh,
this
is how we do
person
it. And then
donated this
maybe
amount
they
of
wanna
money.
do it.
No, it's not about motivating others. It's about, in fact, I would say it's boosting somebody else's ego as well. Like it really can be motivation in that sense, right? Like if you donate something just because you want to be on the leaderboard, I completely agree. It doesn't count because not only you're trying to boost your own ego, but if you're trying to motivate somebody, you are enticing that person's ego as well.
But sometimes it happens that a person who donated, he doesn't even have intention of boosting
He
himself,
doesn't want to be.
but automatically people start boosting him. So it's person to person what level
But
he
if
has
somebody
reached.
else does it, that's fine. As long as
Exactly.
you have the
If somebody
intention.
else does
I
it,
want to do
that's-
it because I want.
So his
Right.
point,
No,
right?
no,
Like
no,
what
I'm
the
just saying
society
that-
do, whatever they want to do, right? As then you as an individual, as a soul, and that's the.
I think if you donate saying that I want my name on the plaque,
Yeah.
then you will not get any credit for it. But if you donate and then somebody decides they're going to put your name on the plaque,
then that's fine.
that's on that person.
Correct.
If they ask you, do you want a name on a plate and what?
You will say you have, well, if you want good company, then you will say no. You will say no then.
So
Yeah, I
this
mean,
is why
the
you
right
should
thing-
donate anonymously.
Anonymous.
So
Yeah,
I
right
used
thing.
to be a big anonymous donor. Like I always used to donate and not put my name on. I don't want anyone to know I was donating. But that has recently changed since Ishan is growing up, and now when he sees our name, it just brings it to his mind that he can donate too. So I don't know if what I'm saying is making sense.
So you can
It's
It
like
does
so
make
now
sense.
he's
It
like
does
he
make
collects
sense.
money
You're using
from.
it as motivation for this.
Yeah, my pure intention is just a motivation. I don't care for the name, but I want, like when we do lunch sponsorship, if our name is there, it's building in his mind. Like all the money they collect from Deras or Pachala, he wants to now donate, to something because he sees us. All these years we did it, they never knew what we donate or what we don't. But now that they see the name, they want to do it. So I don't know.
So unfortunately, you're teaching him the wrong lesson. You could teach him to be more like you
Anonymous.
instead of trying
Yes.
to hack his brain to make him do good things. Try to teach him to be more like you.
Okay.
So just a comment, is it supposed to be that black and white, Timur, where we say if the person is doing that for ego, you get 0 credit. I mean,
Yes. I'm sorry.
but
I'm sorry. The truth is the truth. I got to tell you the truth no matter how you
but hold on.
get.
So just hear my argument.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, I get what you are saying. I understand it shouldn't be for that. Okay, we are aligned on that. I think my question is it just 0 or the person still deserves
10%.
some credit? And the reason I
For
say
doing
that
that.
is,
It'll be like 0.001%, right?
but
If your good deed is motivated by ego
hear me out.
or greed for your soul or your advancement for your spiritual progress or no matter or you want to get your name out there, if your good deed is motivated by those things, it doesn't count, and in fact you're probably going backwards.
But yeah, let's hear. What you
yeah,
have to
so
finish.
only my
Yeah.
comment is at least that person is doing something
Right.
and is better than the other person
Doing that.
who may be thinking that he doesn't want his name or whatever, his, her, whoever, and not doing anything. But at least somebody is putting that money out, because even that part
For
of
some work.
detachment,
Detachment.
right? You are still detaching that other person is not able to do that. And if you are doing that towards building a derasar or something, there is still some positive that's coming out. It may not give him all the credit, but at least there is part of detachment. And I think that deserves little bit of recognition and not 0, because the other person is not doing anything.
You're talking
No,
about
in fact, if you're hurting your soul and the other person is not doing anything and not hurting their soul, they're actually better off than you.
Well, let's ask a different way. Let's say the Jain Center comes to you, say, can you donate for this idol? I'm going to put your name on a plaque. And you say, yeah, I'll donate for the idol, but just leave it blank.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Would you do it or not do it?
Yeah, but it's not about me. I'm talking a general question,
Well,
right?
just
but
anybody.
if
See,
one
this is
person
the
is doing that-
excuses that happen. I'm talking about society. It doesn't matter. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about me in comparison with somebody else. It doesn't matter. We cannot take the personal out of it. I'm talking about you. I'm talking about your soul.
Sure. So here is my answer. So I understand that the name shouldn't be there. I think she understands that we are all about anonymous. But I'm talking about donors in the temple who are going to build this temple.
Yeah.
And I don't know them personally, so I'm not here judging them. But even if they are doing that for their name, if they are, I'm not saying they are doing that, they are better off than I am. Is what, and I want to give them that respect, is what I'm saying. Because at the end of the day, they are giving big chunk of money, and we all probably have that much money, but we are not doing that.
So
Is my comment.
It's the mental state, though, remember? If they're doing it anonymously, then they're better off. But if they're doing it for their own ego, then you're a better person than them. Even if I have $2 million and I want to satisfy my ego and I build a temple because that's my community, and you have $2 million and you do nothing with it, you're a better person than I am. In that respect.
Okay, so I'm better than a lot of
I think
awesome.
the state of mind matters.
But sorry, I know we are taking a lot of time, but the one thing is, for a name and recognition, from years, I mean, from years, even I was saying in India, people donate, and that's how the whole community, I know that it is not right, I completely agree, but that's how all communities are running. And I had discussion about this just last week. One of my friend who does a lot of seva and all, and I said, what if today everybody recognize you because you do a lot of seva, but what if nobody knows you do seva and you are standing right there and nobody's recognizing you? Would you do the same thing? He said, that's a tough question, because then if nobody's recognizing, they would consider me same as you, then why would I do it? So half of the volunteers would be disappeared if we say that no name, no recognition, nothing, your name will come.
But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how karma binds to their soul.
Exactly.
If they're doing seva for the intention of getting recognition, they're hurting themselves.
But that's what
They're corrupting their souls. They're causing their cycles of life and death to continue. I don't want that. They don't want that. Does it count if you perform an act of violence in self-defense? We have a legal exception, right? If you kill somebody and it was in self-defense, you don't go to jail.
Yeah, it
Does that
counts.
apply to the karma system as well as the legal system?
You still killed the soul. It
But
counts.
intentions were.
Soul is eternal.
Protect
Soul
yourself.
doesn't die. You killed a body. That soul.
I mean, you killed the person. Sorry.
think about it, Mahabharata, right? Krishna was a Sarthi. He instructed Arjun to kill so many. We worship him as a lord, worship him as a god.
I don't think Krishna instructed him. Again, my history is not that great, but I think he told Arjuna to do the right thing.
Do the right thing. So that's
Dharma and
basically
adharma.
it's instructions, right? I mean, it's words, nomenclature, but I mean, that thought was continuously running in my mind, and you actually hit that question that does it count if we what was the exact point you made?
Trespassers or
If you
something.
kill
If somebody's
somebody in
trying to
self-defense.
kill you and you kill
Kill
them,
them.
does that count? You're not going to be charged for murder. In the legal system, it doesn't count.
In the legal system, it does not.
But in the karmic system, does
In
it
the
count?
karma system, yes. You're supposed to let them kill you. You're not supposed to kill them.
I
You're
think
not killing them. You're
it
just trying to
counts.
protect yourself. Your
Yeah,
intention
but
is
you're
to
then you're
protect
saying
yourself,
your
not to
body
kill.
is worth more than their body.
Yeah, I think it counts because at the end of the day, even Krishna knew that what he is going to suffer because of this. And when Gandhari actually cursed him, he knew that his end is going to be very, very unfortunate. Right? So it does count.
It absolutely counts.
Yeah.
That is, you experience the results of your actions, and that person experiences the results of their actions. It absolutely counts. There is no self-defense, exception in
So
the
if I
karmic
killed
system.
him, he actually, because of his karma, I killed him. So does it count
Absolutely.
that way?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you end up building karma. So now you
That's why
got
we are in
karma.
this cycle.
Yeah, so no self-defense exception in the karmic system, all right? You suffer the consequences of your own actions.
Like
Like
be
if-
like Mahavir Bhagwan and just
like-
bear all the stuff.
Yeah, no, like if you are in a room like this and there's a snake there, if you kill that snake, you get the bad karma. If that snake kills you, that snake gets the bad karma.
So we have some resistance here, right? You talked about protection at first. You're not killing somebody, you're protecting yourself. You have some resistance to this idea, right? Where does that come from? It's hard, right, to kind of think about it, right? Because you think about it as what's right and what's wrong. And that's why it's the most interesting question that you could ever think about. And you could spend your entire life thinking about one question.
Right or wrong.
What's right and what's wrong? You still resistant to the idea?
I understand, but again, the intention matters, and my intention is not to kill someone just to protect myself. It will attach the karma, but not to that.
The intensity.
You're saying your body is more important than what the karma your
Maybe the
soul is
intensity
going to
of the
get.
karma is the word.
Yeah, but the body is not
Because
Voluntary manslaughter,
I
not
haven't
first
been to
class.
that forward
First
path
degree.
yet.
Red color
I'm here.
ratio.
Yeah.
All right,
I'm still
so-
in the practical
Better
life,
with you.
right? So I agree.
A couple
I
of
will
weeks
not
ago,
let the snake kill me.
just like we celebrate our donors, a couple of weeks ago we celebrated our tapaschirias. That is, if you did upwas or attai, then we celebrate you, right? Does that count? If you do tap and you celebrate afterwards, does that count?
Very tricky question.
I think it depends on why you did the tup. So if people did the tup, and then Jane Center's like, come in, we'll do a fire, and then they're like, fine, I'll come. But that wasn't the reason, right?
Yeah, I
So
don't think
I don't
people
think
are
it
doing
matters.
8 days of fast to come to the party. I don't
It's,
think anybody would be doing that. That's a stretch.
So I wasn't there, but from what I heard, my kids were like, it was hour and a half long speeches that I don't think they enjoyed anyway. So I don't think their intention to
that's
do
worth it.
tapasya was sitting through that, right?
But
So
when I was a kid, when my friend will do fast and then he will get such a treatment, I was getting motivated to do it. And I'm hearing a lot of kids who I know, they say, I also want to do it
Yeah.
next time. So what that happens, that motivates kids. And then I told, no, that's not, don't keep that intention because you want to see that. So it's a mixed message, I mean, it's very difficult. It's always a mixed message because then we really, and a lot of activities what we do, we really forget why we are doing it actually. We do it how it's looking and looking for people's approval. That's what I
but
feel.
isn't that all anumodna part of it, right? Like boli and stuff they do. It's not about binding karma or not. It's to the extent of level we are binding the karma. I think that way. Like they do boli in public setting where you basically auctioning it, right? And then people see it and then people want to do it because someone else did it. So the intention here is to maybe ego here again, like, oh, I can do better. If he's doing, I can do it. But also it's bringing some good karma, right? Your intention is to do it also. So I understand you are binding some level of ego karma, but also that's not your pure motive. It's just kind of encouraging you to do something, like even the tapsiya, because other kids are doing, I want to do it. So it's a mixture of karma.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It makes sense.
But it's the same thing as the previous example. That doesn't count, right? If you're doing
But
it
that's what I'm arguing. I think it does to some extent count. Like you were saying earlier, like the whole plaque name thing, right? I think it counts to certain level.
See, a person who is doing a lot of pratikraman, lot of uppas and everything, and he's staying inside the house, he will come out. Nobody will even count him anything. You know, a moment a person does outside world, everybody counts him. That's very two different situation, and it is person to person, and it is very like lot of activities. I'm not saying happens, but happens because of that also a motivation, and you can't determine what motivation is behind the.
Yeah, so I think it's a personal intention matter. It's
personal
not like
intention.
it's not my intention is not to show everyone, but just a collateral. It's happening because it's how it is, right? Like it's not my sole purpose of doing whatever I'm doing, the donation or tapsiya or whatever.
So also
Intentions
fasting, if
are
you're
not
doing, do
there.
it
Unintentional.
Yeah, that's exactly. But he's
Don't
saying
have
it doesn't count because it's still an ego.
Yeah, but so I think
Because the
from
name
what
is
he's,
on the
saying
thing.
that.
from what he's saying, you should put your name down, right? Like when they say collect the names of people who did it, if you did it, you did it for yourself, and you shouldn't like go and broadcast it out to people that I did it.
all the people.
But see, for my kids, I do want to encourage them, like, okay, whatever the small thing they get for tapasya Bowman, they feel like proud of themselves and they'll do it again next
That's
year.
what I'm
So
saying.
it's
Yeah,
not
there's
my
always-
intention of showing off, like, oh, my kids did something. My intention is to encourage them so they can do it again. So I think the intention here matters. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's very debatable, right? So
Nobody. Do you want your kids to do tapasya because they're gonna get a few dollars gift, or do you?
no,
want
I
them
don't
to-
care for that. It's
Not
just the
the money, but the
encouragement.
name.
Like they
No,
feel
but you
proud.
just said that like they feel proud about it, so I like them getting it because it motivates them to do it. But if
Yeah.
that's the motivation, that may not be the right motivation.
like feeling proud that they did something. Then how
kids are-
You can
Because it
motivate
depends
them
on how
other
far
ways,
the
but
kid is
if
on
you
the
motivate
path.
them by saying,
So
"Hey,
if
you're
the
gonna get
kid
the
is-
few dollars," then
the
that may
kid
not be the right
is
way to
not-
motivate.
No,
them.
not for the
Kids-
money
kids-
itself.
Yeah,
You have to take them step by step.
Yeah.
Kids
Yeah.
are
It's
in
not
a
like,
different level.
you know,
right?
when you have, let's say, a 6-year-old, right? You can't be like, oh, you should do, you know, religion for religion's sake. You have to,
yeah,
you
you
know,
have to do that.
you have to build it
Right.
up. It's
And
not
like we also said, right, when we were talking some other classes, even while praying, we all said that we cannot focus on it because we get distracted easily. So what we said is, fake it until you make it, right? You start somewhere. Same thing with kids. I think you have to start somewhere, whatever.
But is that
Entice
the
them
right
with
thing?
something.
So what is the right thing? What do you
No, I
tell
know.
kid?
That's
Because
what
a
we are
6-year-old,
giving.
if you go and say this is great for your atma,
Yeah.
they're going to
understand.
they're going to
Even
walk
when I was
off
6,
and
it's
start
not like,
playing
you
on
know,
iPad.
Right.
Okay.
I remember when I was young in India, when we used to go Pashla, we used to get lollipop after
Always.
and that was the sole reason
That was
I
the
used to
whole
go to
intent.
Derasa every single day for
Yeah.
Pashal.
And
Now,
then
my
they-
intentions there were not good, but eventually it helped me build knowing the right thing, right?
And then they learn it, right? Once they
Right.
start going to a 3P same thing, right? The Prabhavana, it
Right.
starts with that, but then they get used to it. Now my son always used to do the Rasa anyways, but a lot of kids we see, now they want to do it regardless of 3P, right? So now we have cultivated that habit. Now they start appreciating it. They like it. They enjoy
Right.
being
And they
there.
will
So
follow
you have
it.
to start somewhere. It's not the right answer, but
Except-
and not
except-
the world. The world is not perfect, right? So
Except that
I
we
guess
had
that's
the,
what she's saying.
Yeah.
we started the conversation is that why are adults giving money because they get their name on the plaque? So
Yeah, that was
when are we
three conversations
weaning us
Exactly.
off? We're weaning starting with the $5 and
Why don't we
then-
just let him tell us the thoughts?
Sliver is going to say all that waste of time.
I know what he's gonna say. It doesn't count. It doesn't count.
Okay.
Your kid's
Yeah.
thing doesn't count.
As you know, this class has always been about and will always be about applying Jainism to your life. So we talked about it. We've had a nice debate. We've had a nice discussion. I even have more stuff, very interesting conversations, but we only have a little bit of time left. So I want to know how you will apply what we talked about here to your life outside. It's going to be lunchtime soon. We're going to have The kids are going to run up to you and tell you what they learned in Patsala, or maybe not. We're going to be out there soon. So how are you going to apply this to your life, what we talked about? How are you going to use it to improve the quality of your life?
I think being
No plaque.
conscious,
Yes.
being conscious is one big step of whatever you're trying to do. Whether it is walking on a grass or anything that you do, just being mindful and conscious will go a long way in how we want to determine whether it counts or it doesn't count.
Come on in. Remember, Arya, her soul is exactly the same as your soul. It's not younger. You can look at her. It's not a younger soul than you. It's the exact same soul. What's your name?
I'm Adi.
Adi?
Yeah.
You have a soul. How old is your soul? Is it as old as my soul? Or younger than my soul? I could be older.
You ever get to that page yet?
So when you
We
look
haven't got
at
to
your
that
kids,
page yet.
remember that. That's important.
He's never entering this
He's like a pop quiz.
All right. So we look at
My
Arya.
soul
We
just
say,
left me.
there's no difference between my soul and Arya's soul, right? It looks different, but that's just the body. It's just a wrapper. Okay. Her soul might be further along the path. It might be less further. It's just a wrapper. It's very hard to see that, which is why I want you to take some time to look at Arya and realize that she may have had 100 deaths before, 100 life and deaths before, and you may have had 75. Or she may have had 20 and you may have had 50. Something like that. But you look at it, you try to see that there's a soul behind the person, inside the person. There's a soul there that's just as old as your soul. Thank you so much for your time this week. I really appreciate
One
it.
comment. So I wanted to continue with what Sandeep was saying. So I'm very conscious, right? I'm very mindful. But what is the next step? Because that bothers me, right? Like I know I'm doing the wrong thing, and I did all this. I come back and I say my, ichami before going to bed, and next day I continue the same thing.
The next step is opening the book to the chapter of Ban. And you say, okay, I need to know what's right and what's wrong. Oh, there are 7 types of karma. Oh, why? What have I been doing? Which of the 7 books? The next step is turning it over in your mind and doing the research to answer the questions that your brain continuously has. The next step is educating yourself. And I love to hear that. Because I'm not some being that puts knowledge into your brain and opens it up. I'm somebody that wants to light the lamp of your brain. And then you do it. Right? I just want that spark. I can't tell you everything. The whole thing I'm trying to do is to motivate you to open the book. And so I think you will open the book this week. Thank you guys.
Thank you.